Welcome to the Bulldog Blitz. I'm your host, Trish Barton. The jump from high school athletics to NCAA Division I college athletics can be a big one for many student athletes. The differences are in the level of competition plus the workload in the college classroom. Today, I am joined in the studio with Butler freshman swimmer Cecilia Rose to talk about making that transition from high school sports to college sports. Thanks, Cecilia, for being here.
Hi.
How is high school different from college level?
It's a lot less intense. The practicing is about the same. It just takes up like all your extra time, but competition-wise, I in high school was used to like pretty much winning most of my races and dual meets and stuff, and then now in college, like I don't win everything.
Yeah. And how has that affected you and not being able to win?
And at the beginning of the season, it was a lot different, and it like kind of like hurt my self-esteem, but my times are about the same or like even better, and so that helped like the transition and like my teammates back home and my coach back home. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Helps.
So is your PR then, so you've gone down in your PR, or do you have a better PR than in high school?
During in-season times, I had like my best times in season, but then at conference, I got sick the week before, and so I had to like go home because I had the flu.
Yeah.
So that really affected my end of the season. But in season, I was doing really well, and I was like hoping for a really good performance at the end of the season. But it's really hard when you get the flu to perform as well as you could.
Yeah. And what did you do to get back in shape after the flu?
I had to come to practice and literally like sprint the entire time. And it was really hard, but my coach like really had to focus on getting me back into shape before he could start tapering me. So it was like a challenge for both of us, but I made the best of it.
Yeah. And then being a current freshman at Butler, how was the first season besides the time with your teammates and your coach? How did you adapt?
It was really fun. I liked it, like I love it so much. It was hard to like come into a team with a coach that's new, because I had the same coach my entire swimming career before this, and it was just weird because he didn't know me as a swimmer and I didn't know him as a coach. But a couple weeks in, like I could tell that it was going to work out, and so obviously because a lot of people did well, it did work out.
Yeah. And is the girls swimming team, are you guys all pretty close? Or
yeah. I know that like a lot of the freshmen are like best friends. A lot of them are in the same sorority houses. And so yeah, like we're all like a big tight family.
Okay. And was there anything that was really challenging besides the flu this season?
Yeah, it was just a lot of like having to go to practice and having to wake up at 6 in the morning, because in high school and club swimming back home, it was okay if you missed one practice, or like if you were sick, you could get out early. Like you didn't have to lift at 6 in the morning, but here like you have to be there. You have to be at every single practice, even when you're sick and like throwing up. So that was a big adjustment. But once again, like a couple months into the season, like you got used to having to be there 1 to 3 every single day. So just like kind of just like worked into my schedule.
And are high school workouts different from college workouts, and what are the differences between the two?
It's just really like the coaching style. Like my club coach back home really focused on quality over quantity. So he made us do like specialty sprint sets and like with less yardage. Then my high school coach was different than my club coach. So he really focused on yardage, and so we would do a ton of yards. And then Mo is a really good like healthy medium between those two. So like there are some days where I would be swimming a lot of yardage, and then some days we'd have quality days where we would do sprint. And so it was nice because it was like adding my two coaches back home together and dividing by 2.
And do you guys usually sprint in the HRC, or where do you guys go to?
Yeah, we practice in the HRC. I know we used to have a pool in Hinkle, but that closed down a while ago. So we do everything in HRC. So yeah.
Yeah. And do you like the pool and the atmosphere?
Yeah, it's kind of more of a practice pool. We can't do our meets there because we can't close down the entire facility, obviously. So we do our meets at Fishers High School. But yeah, it's a good pool. It's kind of warm, but you get used to it. My pool back home was warm too, so it's okay.
Did you always want to be like swim for high school and then swim for college, or what was your track?
Yeah, I started really late for swimming. People usually start like as early as 4 to 6. I started when I was 10, didn't really get into it until I was 12. And so in high school, I knew I really wanted to swim, and I really wanted to swim in Division I schools, but obviously a lot of Division I schools are really fast. So I had to look at specific teams that I could fit on, and Butler was just perfect.
Yeah. And how did you pick Butler besides the swimming atmosphere?
It's a good distance away from Cincinnati, where I'm from, and I really like how they have, like, my major. I'm criminology and psychology, and a lot of schools you'd have to double major, and here it's a combined major. And I really liked Mo when I met him, and like the team when I had my recruiting trip was really cool, and I just saw myself here.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. And then going back, how did you begin swimming at 10?
Well, my older sister swam when she was 9, and I wanted to do everything my sister did. So when I was 7, I began swimming on like my summer club team, and I was horrible, and I like didn't have many friends because my team was really good. So all the like really fast girls were really good friends, and then I was just like bad and like had no friends. And so I was like, I need to get better at this so I have friends. And so I would start swimming year round. And then once I got better, I was like in the swimming world more, and that's really how it began. I just fell in love with it.
Yeah. And then did you go to many competitions, or besides like being on the club team, or did you?
Yeah. Before high school, you would sign up for like club meets, and those would probably be like once or twice a month. Then in high school, you would have them about like once a week, so that was a lot. And then you would have your club meets on top of that.
Yeah.
But this year, it was nice because I was used to going to like 4 competitions at the end of the season, and this one it was only 1, so it was really nice.
Yeah. And how did you feel about the conference?
We as a team did really well. We broke a lot of records, and there was a lot of personal best times, but we're a non-scholarship team at Butler, and everyone else in our conference is scholarship, so they're really, it's like really tough competition. So like as a team, we did really well, but I feel like at the conference, people didn't know that we were doing as well because our times were like a lot slower than other teams, but overall we did really, really well.
Yeah. And how do you want to change that for next season? Like, what are you going to do to hopefully?
Fingers crossed I don't get sick.
Yeah.
But I'll just keep training like I did because I was doing really well in season, and then hopefully taper goes well this time and I end up dropping a lot of time. And if I went the time that I wanted to go, I'd be close to making it back to finals at conference, which is a pretty big deal. So I'm just hoping by the time I'm a senior, I can do that.
And what's the time for
this year? I swim the 200 back and the 100 back. I think next season I might switch to butterfly, but the 200 back this season was a 206, making it back top 16, and I wanted to go 208. That didn't happen, but that was my goal. And then 200 fly I think was a 205. So it was really fast to make it back, but hopefully I can get there.
Yeah. And what did you swim in high school?
In high school, I swam backstroke and butterfly, mainly the 200 back and the 100 fly. And I was recruited as a butterflyer for here, but my coach, we had so many butterflyers, and a lot of our backstrokers got injured, so he switched me over to backstroke.
Yeah. And then what keeps you motivated to swim?
I just really love it. If I didn't love it as much as I did, I probably wouldn't do it because it is such a time commitment, and it's really hard. But it also like keeps me in shape, so I don't really have to like worry about working out or like what I eat. That's nice too. But yeah, I just really love it.
Yeah. Okay, and then what gets you pumped up for games? Or, well, I guess meets.
My team, we're really close, and so together, like, we really, like, pump each other up, and we always, like, listen to music and all that classic stuff. We don't really have, like, too much, like, special stuff. We have some cheers, but it's really just, like, mental preparation, yeah.
And then has there been any strain between academics and swimming or social life or anything?
Yeah, it's really hard for me to, like, juggle my academics and my social life because I'm a very social person and swimming. So last semester I didn't do as well academically as I was hoping. So this semester should be a lot better, doing better, but it's just like a lot to like take in because like going to college, moving, starting a new team, like all that stuff really is just really hard, but I'm getting the hang of it.
Good. And are you glad you picked Butler overall?
Yes, I love it.
Cecilia, thank you for being on the show, and good luck next season. Coming up on segment 2 of the Blitz, the retirement of one of the most popular figures in Butler sports, Blue 2 is stepping down, and Whitney Simmons will be talking to the man in charge of this highly recognized Bulldog.
Welcome back to the second segment of the Bulldog Blitz. I'm Whitney Simmons. Blue 2 and Trips are two names that are well known around Butler's campus. These two Bulldogs have become the face of Butler University, and everyone wants to meet them. Today we are talking to Butler's Director of Rep Marketing and owner of Blue 2 and Trip, Michael Keltenreich. Thank you for being here today, Michael.
Thanks for having me, Whitney. I appreciate it.
All right, so how did you get involved with owning these two dogs and making them what they are today?
Sure. Well, it's one of those other duties as assigned. I mean, even before I was Director of Web Marketing, I was in the development office, and Blue 1 was around, and it was a great time. We were just starting our live mascot program, and Kelly Walker, a 91 grad who worked in the alumni office, had Blue 1, and she got an opportunity out west in the state of Washington, and took advantage of that and moved away and took Blue 1 with. And so I'm catching wind of all this, and I think, well, surely there's going to be a Blue 2, and if so, I'd love to be a part of that. So I kind of just put my hand up and said, is there going to be a Blue 2, and if so, can I be the one that takes care of that dog? And they said sure, and you know, the rest is kind of history. You know, when I got that opportunity, I kind of thought of it with my marketing and PR background that I had gained here at Butler, and said I don't know exactly what I'm going to do, but I'm going to think of it that way, and I'm going to try to exploit it as much as possible on behalf of Butler, and it's really grown thanks to a couple Final Four appearances.
Yeah.
It's turned into something really great.
Yep, Tripp definitely agrees with those Final
Yes,
Four
absolutely.
appearances.
He's ready for his own.
He is. And so what is it that you all do? I noticed that Blue 2 and them have blog pages and a Twitter account, so is there other stuff that you're doing?
Oh yeah,
with
it's
them?
a lot. You know, like you said, we really try to have a great web presence, especially socially, so on the social media outlets, and I think people love that. So we're able to share content from the dog and perspective from the dogs. We're able to give the dog a voice, and in doing so, really give the university a new voice and a unique voice that is maybe a little less institutional. And I think it's been well received. And then what happens with that is you start attracting people who have no affiliation from Butler whatsoever. I mean, we have fans now from coast to coast, and people who are not just fans that talk to us on Twitter or Facebook, but then, you know, purposely make road trips to, yeah, they're going to go see a basketball game, but they have no other affiliation other than they've come to know the dogs online, and they want to go to a basketball game and then see the dogs. We have someone come from Philadelphia this year already. We have a person who's interested in driving out from Los Angeles for Blue's birthday retirement party. So it's pretty neat to see their reach and how that's affecting the university positively.
Now, I know when you guys went down to Texas for the Final Four, former President George W. Bush wanted to meet Blue 2. What was that experience like?
That was almost surreal, but it was pretty neat. You know, we had our own security detail, and then the Secret Service ushered us down and said, you know, the former president would like to meet Blue, and I said absolutely. So it was my whole family, my wife, and our son was an infant at that point, and so we got to go see him, and I kind of held the dog up where he and Barbara could see the dog, and Barbara was more interested in our son, who I said was an infant at the time, who was going to go explore the city.
Yeah, he's going to go check out what's going on.
And so then George was just looking at him and petting him, and then he looks at me, and the only thing he really said was, has he ever bit anybody? And I thought, well, if he did, he wouldn't be at a Final Four. But that was about the extent of the interaction. But they were really pleasant people, and really, you could tell they were dog people. They appreciated him, and then moved on from there. But yeah, that was a neat experience. I mean, I never thought that I'd be able to meet a former president just because I was the guy that took care of the dog. So that was cool. It was a cool experience.
So then, on top of meeting President Bush, has there been any other
Oh yeah, I mean Jimmy Fallon stands out when he came to shoot his special for the Super Bowl, and the fact that he included Blue into the show and the start of the show, it was really neat. And I mean that one stands out. Jillian Michaels, he's met before as a part of the Super Bowl, and you know, about a year ago or so, I started to think through all the famous, semi-famous people that Blue has come in contact with, and the list was staggering. So I just put it on Pinterest. I'm like, we need to start pinning these people, and so you can go to Pinterest, Blue's Pinterest page, and kind of see that board of famous people that Blue's come in contact with. It's really cool.
And now I know, like with me, you just told me to have them sit like that. Is that something that you taught them, or did you go through something else to teach them?
You know, Blue, he went through 6 puppy classes, and then he just started coming to work with me, and that was it. And he really learned everything on the fly. Trip is also learning that way, but we've also, you know, now that the Butler Blue Live Mascot program has matured and is becoming, you know, more official, and then we're able to reach out and form partnerships. And one of those has been with Bark Tutor and Broad Ripple. They've been great. You know, they've helped me with some basic obedience and things like that. Although you wouldn't know it right now.
Yeah, no, they're totally into
They get
each
excited
other.
on TV.
Sit.
Hey, that's
Take a
enough.
seat.
Lay down.
Sit.
Lay down. Stay. So they help me with basic obedience, and then Trip here, as you can tell, he can still use a little more work. But he's also a puppy, so you can expect some of this behavior.
Yeah. So is it common with bulldogs to
Oh
have
sure,
this
yeah. I
behavior?
mean they're excited. Like
Yeah,
he's,
definitely
the lights,
ready to
the
go.
camera, and I'm projecting, so he's wound up. But
Definitely amped up.
and what people don't realize is with Blue, this is 8 years in the making. Like, but
Definitely.
so Trip's gonna enroll in Canine Good Citizen classes this spring, so he's got another thing coming.
Yeah.
All this raucous behavior is gonna get put to
Kinda
rest soon.
put
So
to rest.
part of it is they're dogs, and you got to let them be dogs. But the other part is they have a job to do. So some of this is to be expected, especially as a puppy. The lights, the camera, I mean, and he hears me project, so he's gonna project and articulate himself. But at the same time, you can't have him running amok, so we gotta have some basic ground rules, and there's some liability involved. But for the most part, they're great dogs, and they learn as much as anything as being a part of an environment, whether it's a TV studio, Hinkle Fieldhouse, whatever. But then at the same time, you know, I've got to have control of them, so we've got to go through some basic obedience and learn those commands and let them know that I'm alpha dog, and then they fall somewhere else in the rank.
And so then having a family and then having the bulldogs come in, how does that like interact with everything?
Yeah, it's added a different dynamic because, you know, when I first got Blue 2, it was just my wife and I, so it was really easy for me to focus a lot of time on him and to train him, and he was really the center of our attention. You know, fast forward to today, and you've got, not only do we have Blue 2, but we have Blue 3, plus we have a 2-year-old son in the middle, so there's a lot of divided attention, and I think that's been a bit detrimental for Trip because I don't have as much time to focus on him. But at the same time, it's been beneficial for Trip because at this age, Trip is a lot more understanding and tolerant of children, and there's just other certain scenarios where he's just better than Blue was at this age. So while it's been detrimental in some instances, it's been beneficial in others. So it's a trade-off.
It's a growing. And so with Blue 2 retiring this year and Trip stepping in, is it ready for the switch over?
Sure,
is it
yeah. I
change?
mean, you know, Blue 2 started at 8 weeks old. There was no other dog to learn from. He just took over. And Trip's had a year now to learn from Blue. And plus, to be honest with you, he's learned a lot from Blue, but he's better when he's solo. Having the dogs here together adds another degree of excitement for them. So they work each other up. When I have them individually, they're a lot better. So I think it'll be just fine. You know, look this spring to kind of let Blue start stepping out of the spotlight, doing less appearances, doing more with just Tripp. And then I'd say after commencement in May, then Tripp's going to just do those appearances exclusively. And I anticipate it'll go very well.
And so what do you have for Blue 2's retirement? I know there's the Xavier game you're switching. Is
yeah, so, you know, the last home game of the year is senior day, and so it's not uncommon for us to kind of honor some of those people who are going to be moving on from the university, and we thought, well, we should include Blue in those plans. And so we're going to have a changing of the collar ceremony, which is really cool because it's a new university tradition. We've never had to do that before. So Reese Nichols, we contacted them, a local jeweler, and they designed a collar with some sterling silver pieces. It's really a pride piece, a great new university tradition. So we'll do that at halftime at that game and have a changing of the collar, which will kind of signify that passing of the torch. And then later in March on the 29th, then the public is welcome to kind of come say happy birthday and happy retirement to Blue, and that'll be in Atherton Union. And we'll also unveil a portrait that day. Local artist James Kelly has done an official portrait of Blue that we'll unveil, that will hang in Jordan Hall eventually. So that's a really neat deal for the public and the campus community to take part in. And then Blue's going to slowly fade away from there and do one more appearance in May at commencement. He's going to take a mascot emeritus status, and President Danko will present that to him, and he'll be the last one of the graduates to walk across stage, and then he'll get to hang up his jersey after that.
And so what's in store once it's done? Is he just going to become like your pet? Or
That's a great question, because Blue's only known, since he's 8 weeks old, he's only known to be mascot, and he'll be 9 this month. So that's a long time of doing the same thing every day, and it would really be almost mean to change that up. I'm really vocal today.
Yeah, they're getting riled up over there.
So we'll still bring Blue into campus every day. I mean, I think he's earned that, and we don't want to take him too much out of routine at this point. So he'll come to campus, but that's going to consist of laying around my office or maybe the bookstore while Tripp and I go out and do other appearances and things like that.
And so what does Tripp, are you doing anything different with Tripp's appearances? Or are you going to try to keep it the same?
We'll keep it the same, and for now, and then the idea is to really take this Butler Blue live mascot program to the next level. And so, and that involves a lot of things, from ramping up sponsorship to trademarking the dogs and improving upon their licensing and merchandising offerings. You know, I think there may be a Butler Blue fan club in the works, and then we'd like to do a literacy program. So it's great that we're able to do a lot of appearances and get out in the community, but we think it'd be even better if we could get them into elementary schools and junior high schools and start talking about literacy and higher education and starting to set kids' goals on going to college, whether it's Butler or not.
Well, that's all we have time for today. I want to thank you, Michael,
Thank you, Whitney.
Blue 2 and Tripp as they're
Absolutely.
wandering around the studio. And up next, we have more stories with Ryan Henson and JoJo Gentry with Butler Sports.
I'm JoJo Gentry on this last segment of the Bulldog Blitz. Before spring break, we have stories about senior night for the Butler women's basketball team and the sharp increase in applications due to the success of the men's basketball team.
I'm Ryan Henson. We also have stories about the spring seasons and getting underway for the Butler women's soccer team and the volleyball team.
But first, our coverage of senior night for the Butler women's basketball team. Reporter Matt Rhinesmith was at the field when senior forward Becca Bornhorst got to play on the Hinkle hardwood one more time.
The Butler women's basketball team sent their seniors out in style Wednesday night with a 59-55 victory over Temple. The game was the final game at Hinkle Fieldhouse for senior forward Becca Bornhorst and manager Evan Eichhorn. Bornhorst started and played 11 minutes in the game. She recorded 1 offensive rebound. After a career plagued by injuries, Bornhorst said she was just happy to be able to play.
I just feel blessed that I was able to step on the court against Temple and be able to play the last time for my career here.
The team presented her with a framed jersey as a memento to her time at Butler. Coach Beth Kuchar talked about Bornhorst's value to the team after the win.
Gonna really miss Becca. Gonna miss Becca on and off the court and what she has brought here for 4 years.
Even though Eichhorn never scored for the Bulldogs, he says his last home game was still special.
I vividly remember my first day walking in here and interviewing, and to see it kind of come full circle and have it be the last time that I stepped on the floor as a manager was was tough.
Eichhorn was presented with an autographed team ball for his contributions to the team during his 3 years as manager. Kuchar talked about his contributions to the team after the game.
I think the most important thing for me is how passionate he is for us and women's basketball and for our players and all he does for us behind the scenes, and he understands that we really appreciate that.
The game was a story itself. The Bulldogs got a much-needed win over an Atlantic 10 foe. Taylor Shippers led the team with 19 points. Darius McClung added 15 points. Kuchar was happy her players earned a victory against a tough team on senior night.
It was nice to see us just stay composed throughout the whole game and really fight for Becca and Evan.
Butler's season continues, just not at Hinkle Fieldhouse. The Bulldogs hit the road on Thursday and head to Philadelphia for the Atlantic 10 tournament. Their first game is Friday afternoon against St. Louis. For the Bulldog Blitz, I'm Matt Rhinesmith.
As Butler's basketball recognition rises each year, so does the number of student applications pouring into the Butler's admissions office. Butler welcomed its largest freshman class ever last fall due to a 42% increase in applications over the past 3 years. Vice President for Enrollment Management Tom Weed says the increase is partly because people may not have known about Butler before the basketball success.
You know, students don't enroll at a college because it's got a good basketball team. But they may look at a school that they hadn't considered before because they like what they saw about that team. And we couldn't have written a story better than the one that came out in 2010 and 2011.
Weed says Butler is aiming for just over 1,000 new students this fall, just a slight decrease from the current freshman class.
The spring season is officially underway for the Butler women's soccer team. The Bulldogs have recorded a pair of draws in the early going. On Saturday, the squad pulled a double duty and faced two opponents. The first match saw forward Elise Kotsakis put Butler ahead of Purdue with a first-half strike. The Bulldogs could not hold off the Boilermakers, who notched a late second-half goal, but the game ended in a 1-1 tie. Butler also battled Horizon League power Milwaukee. In the second half, midfielder Caroline Kowal netted a goal for the Bulldogs. This match also ended in a 1-1 draw. Butler will face Miami of Ohio and IUPUI next week. The Butler women's volleyball team is preparing for spring contests coming up after a busy off-season of practicing and training this winter. Two of Butler's players traveled to Colorado Springs to try out for the U.S. women's national volleyball team. Senior setter Morgan Peterson and junior middle blocker Erica Stahl presented the Bulldogs. 245 women's volleyball players tried out for the 48 spots on the team. I talked with both players about the tryouts and their wait to see if they made the team. Butler volleyball players Morgan Peterson and Erica Stahl will have to wait about 2 weeks before they know whether they will make the U.S. women's national volleyball team. Stahl heard about the tryouts through a friend and decided to try out for a few reasons.
She said she met Michael Phelps, which was a big winner for me. So I decided that I would try out, and I talked to my coach about it, and she thought it would be a good idea. It was intense. It was intense. It was exciting. You met so many new people. Like, you got to know all of them. And there were some really, really talented girls there. I mean, I feel like I did really good. When I left, I felt pretty good about it. I think I did a lot of good things. I showed them what I could do to my best of my ability. Now all I can do is sit back and cross my fingers and hope that it was enough.
Senior setter Morgan Peterson will be attending Butler for 2 more years to continue to study pharmacy, but she said she wants to make the most out of her last year of athletic eligibility.
Well, Sharon told me about it. She brought me into her office and said it would be a good thing for me to do, and since I only have 1 year of eligibility left, it was pretty much the last year that I could try out for it. I mean, when you play with girls that are a lot better, you obviously play better yourself because the competition's a lot better. And there was a ton of setters there, and every setter was good. Like, there wasn't any bad players there or players that I thought that shouldn't be there. I don't know exactly what they're looking for or who they're going to pick, but I felt like I gave it my best shot.
But Peterson and Stahl aren't the only two who have been looking to find opportunities to improve on the court. The team is continuing to work toward a successful spring season.
I'm really excited for the spring contest because we've been putting in a lot of work, and in the weight room, on court, we've been doing a lot of conditioning and just putting a lot of time in and effort. We have really good chemistry, so I'm just kind of looking forward to taking it to the next level.
For the Bulldog Blitz, I'm JoJo Gentry.
Missing classes is a fact of life for college athletes. The Butler baseball team is dealing with that issue now that their season is underway. Scott Schmelzer talked with some of the players to see how they juggle their classes and those away games, which can limit their classroom time.
Empty seats is becoming the norm for some professors who have baseball players in their classes. From the middle of March when baseball began through the end of this semester, Butler baseball players are missing 27 class meetings. The move to the Atlantic 10 has a lot to do with all of the long road trips.
But this year especially, it is difficult with changing conferences. We're traveling a lot more. We only have 19 home games out of 55 games, so we're on the road quite a bit. We're missing quite a few classes, and that does present a challenge for us.
When some days it looks like this outside and others like this, it's hard to schedule in town at this time of year. College of Business professor Zach Finn has a lot of baseball players in class, and he recognizes what it takes to stay up in the classroom.
The biggest thing I've noticed, the strongest correlation I've noticed is students who do the best on exams are the ones who come and meet with me outside of class, regardless of whether they're in class or not.
Many professors like Finn recognize the baseball schedule and are more than willing to accommodate their needs.
They've done grading their first exam, which is, in the can and ready to be graded. I'm going to go through and look and see who did, who did well and who didn't, and I'm going to cross-reference that against, our baseball players. And if I see that, one or more of them in my class are struggling, then we're probably going to have to do some sort of outside of class work.
Many of the older players can handle their workload on road trips, but it's the underclassmen who might need the most help.
Long trips, we'll bring on books to study for the bus and at the hotel, so we can still get our homework done. For seniors and juniors, it's a little easier because you kind of know the ropes and you're used to it. For me, this semester, my schedule's pretty easy, so it's not been bad, but I'm more worried about the freshmen and the sophomores.
Senior pitcher and academic All-American last season, Chase Byerly, knows what it takes to continue achieving in the classroom and on the field.
What we're trying to do is really communicate well with our professors and be proactive about how we're going to handle that situation so that it doesn't really develop into a problem down the line this semester.
Although this might be the weather that explains why they're on the road so often in March and April, it certainly will redefine the term student athlete for many baseball players at Butler this spring. For the Bulldog Blitz, I'm Scott Schmelzer.
Cancer survivor and Bulldog sports fan Eric Day will be selling wristbands to raise money for cancer research. Wristbands that say "Stay Positive" will be sold for $1 outside of Starbucks after spring break. All the proceeds will go toward Jill's House and multiple myeloma cancer research. Basketball player Eric Fromm's father recently passed away from multiple myeloma. Day is hoping to sell 5,000 wristbands.
That is it for this week's Bulldog Blitz. I'm JoJo Gentry.
And I'm Ryan Henson.